Well, I'm really excited about tonight's discussion because we've been able to assemble a panel of speakers that represent a kind of broad range of opinion and really have something interesting to say about this subject beyond the kind of typical corruption's bad. We have Matthew Continetti, for instance, who's written a book called The K Street Gang. He's a Republican criticizing lobbying. We have Rob Pollack from the Wall Street Journal, who will, I'm told, from looking at the papers on the website, point out that he thinks there's some exaggeration in the extent of corruption, but also thinks it should be punished and thinks there's other ways to control corruption. We have David Callahan, who's a very interesting book, The Cheating Culture, which essentially argues that it's not just a case of corruption in business and politics, but cheating throughout society in things like steroids in baseball or cheating on SAT scores. And finally, we have Daniel Ben-Ami from London, who will bring an interesting perspective because he'll broaden it from looking at U.S. institutions to look at how this is an issue worldwide. And we know from some of his earlier writings that he's going to emphasize that there's a lack of a positive vision from politicians and businessmen, which means we're talking more and more about corruption. Well, I think it's very timely, this discussion. We can see now that in the news and business stories dominated by stories like Enron and excessive executive pay, but also politically, there's big cases like Jack Abramoff, Tom DeLay. But there's also more subtle and everyday corruption stories that come out. And it seems as if we, in political world, business world, we're talking more and more about corruption. I think we're talking about more and more corruption, partially because there has been these cases coming up, but also I think there's a way in which we, in the absence of talking about some ideas, that we're tending to turn inward and focus more on what's going on among individuals. I'm sure you've seen over the past 6 months or a year how the news has been dominated by tales of corruption in business. We've seen the Enron trial, stories about excessive executive compensation, about oil executives being blamed for price gouging. In politics, of course, we've seen the Jack Abramoff and Tom DeLay cases, and just to show that corruption isn't limited to one party, we had the arrest of the Democratic representative from Louisiana, William Jefferson, who will be known for allegedly stashing $90,000 of bribe money in his freezer.